Opium, a drug, harvested from the plant Papaver somniferum. While harmful on its own, it can be converted to a more lethal drug, heroin.
Afghanistan, a war-torn country still crippled from the influence of the Taliban and a huge amount of foreign troops.
What do these things have in common? In 2001, as reported by the UN, Afghanistan produced less than 6% of the world's opium. Afghanistan was under Taliban rule at this time.
In 2006, after the Taliban was put out of power, Afghanistan produced roughly 92% of the world's opium. Yes, the Taliban banned opium while the Democratic government allowed it.
How did this happen?
By banning opium and destroying any opium that wasn't their own, the Taliban were able to drastically increase the price of their stocked opium. Claiming that drugs were unholy, the Taliban worked with the UN to stop opium production in Afghanistan, reports Newsweek.
Afghan farmers, on the other hand, depend on growing opium for survival. Opium, an illegal and addictive drug, has a high price in the world market. Because Afghanistan is the 10th poorest country in the world, as reported by the CIA, people are desperate for cash. Opium is a great way for these poor farmers to obtain money. As a result, many people grow opium and attempt to sell it in other countries. The UN estimates the yearly export values are roughly $4 billion, with a quarter going to opium farmers and the rest going to district officials, insurgents, warlords, and drug traffickers.
The Pentagon opposes U.S. efforts to suppress the drug trade. Lieutenant General Carl Eikenberry, ex-commander of all U.S. forces in Afghanistan, explained that while drugs were detrimental, they were not a priority of the U.S. military in Afghanistan. The New York Times reports that many warlords and average civilians use opium. In order to gain their cooperation for intel and trust, the U.S. Army has allowed them to continue growing opium.
On the other hand, the Drug Enforcement Administration is working hard to get rid of opium in Afghanistan. They target drug smuggling networks and eliminate warlords. Then again, they seemingly never get equipment from the Pentagon to aid them in the process. The Pentagon also did not allow the DEA to use ramp space in the Kabul airport, as previously promised. As a result, the DEA only seized less than 1% of all Afghanistan opium. Eventually, in 2006, Benjamin Freakley, the U.S. general who runs the Eastern Front, shut down all operations by the Afghan Counter-Narcotics Police and DEA in Nangarhar, a key heroin trafficking province. The general commented that anti-drug operations were an unnecessary obstacle to his military operations, says in the NY Times.
It is no question that the U.S. needs the help of the warlords in order to diminish its presence in Afghanistan, leading to less deaths. Captain Mark of U.S. Special Forces ODA 595 says a warlord that he met
had this incredible map that is hand-drawn of the entire country of Afghanistan, the major roads, lines of communication in all the known cities, the major cities, and the known Taliban locations. And he quickly explained his strategy and campaign plan to us. He wanted us to go right away with him to his mounted headquarters and show us where the Taliban was located.
Eventually, using this intel, they killed several Taliban leaders. It is no question that the warlords could provide valuable assistance to the U.S. So the question is, should U.S. forces allow the opium drug trade in order to gain cooperation from warlords, who will then help the U.S. combat Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces?
Why is the U.S. fighting the war, really? To get rid of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, or for revenge against 9/11?
The U.S. is fighting this war for happiness. Heroin is not true happiness. The U.S. should ban illegal opium farming in Afghanistan and instead only allow medical opium. They should also assist Afghans who grow legal crops with farming supplies.
One benefit of the solution will be that drugs will not be as widespread throughout the world. According to BBC, there are 2.5 million heroin addicts throughout Russia compared to the US's 800,000. Because they are right next to Afghanistan, the world's largest supply of heroin, citizens can relatively easily acquire opium. Europe, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan are also suffering.
Obviously, there will be many Afghan farmers who would oppose this. The reason that they are growing opium in the first place is because they are poor. However, they can grow legal alternative crops such as grapes, wheat, and saffron. The U.S. can supply seeds, fertilizers, and money the farmers who switch to legitimate crops to help the Afghans make a living. This would hopefully be able to replace the amount of money lost from growing opium.
Keep in mind that opium will not be completely banned. While the conversion of opium into heroin will be banned in this solution, the conversion of opium into morphine, codeine, and papaverine will still be allowed. In fact, according to poppies.org, a remarkably unbiased source besides its name, papaverine supplies for opium sometimes even run short. This will be supervised by the US Army, the DEA, UN, and eventually the Afghan government.
Opium could even be converted to a biofuel. According to Ambassador Mark Grossman, former U.S. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, opium may be a renewable energy resource. Afghans will be able to use this biofuel for their own needs and sell it to other countries when oil reserves run short.
In 2008, military officials said it cost roughly $400 to import 1 gallon of gas, indirect costs included. The data showed that for every 24 fuel resupplies in Afghanistan, a U.S. casualty occurs. This constitutes a relatively high percentage of total U.S. casualties. By converting opium into biofuel, the Afghans now have a good financial alternative to heroin, and the U.S. can spend less money and sacrifice less lives in Afghanistan.
Stopping illegal opium production and motivating farmers to grow other crops are good solutions for the opium problem in Afghanistan. Heroin trafficking and addiction will be drastically decreased throughout the world. The Afghan civilians will continue to help the U.S. combat the Taliban, so the solution will help the Afghans find new ways to raise money. By finding alternatives to growing opium, Afghanistan will be a better place, not just for the present, but also for the future.